Hello students, so now in this video I'm going to teach you how to design forms, more HTML components, and also we're going to start adding some logic to our web page. Okay, so first things to do is just designing form. So what happened? Designing form. When you design a form, you can include the following elements. Okay, input boxes, option boxes like radio buttons, like checklist as well, selection list to help you to select data from a list, right? Text area boxes when you can enter a text string, okay, that it could be used to include several lines, right, on contents, right? For example, you want to write some comments, something like that, instead of to use just a regular text box for one line. You can use text area boxes that involve many lines, right? Spin boxes, slider controls, calendar controls, color picker, so you can do many things. So let's gonna see what we're gonna do now. So basically this is the element of the form. Let me see so I can maximize that. Okay, so you're gonna see they are input boxes, correct? And this is the text area, correct? So if you wanna allow the user to write multiple or lines, several lines, you can use a text area. But if you need just a box to allow the user to enter the name, street, city, state, so you can use just regular input boxes. This is input boxes, and this is a text area. Okay, so this is, for example, a calendar. So we want to be able to add that. How? Using the proper tags. Remember, in HTML we are going to use a tag, right, to represent the component that we want in HTML. And if you want to lay out the element, you have to use CSS, but this is not part of the class. If you want to learn more about that, you have to take ISN 4243. Okay, so now this is a selection list. You're going to click that and you're going to see a list of elements, right? Check boxes, really useful, correct? So this is a slider, for example. Yeah, basically this is the principal component in an HTML page. Okay, so let's gonna learn a little about this component to add that in our web page. Remember, for now we only use paragraph, break line, what else? H1, H2, right? Something like this. But we can start adding more elements like those elements. Okay, what happened here is we create a form. Okay, a form is a collection of elements, so it's similar like inheritance polymorphism. So we're gonna have the Windows element, okay, that is like the parent of all the HTML component. Inside that we have the document. We're gonna use document a lot in JavaScript. We're gonna learn about that. And inside documents you can have forms, and inside the forms you can have text, radius, buttons, select. Okay, for text you can have text area, also password, to type password, right? So when you want to hide that you are typing, you can use the special box password. Okay, you can have radius and have radius like check boxes as well. Button, you can have the reset or submit button. If you want to reset whatever you are entering in a form, you can click in this button and it's gonna reset, clean, okay, clean all the data that we enter in our form. Okay, submit, when you code an application, you're gonna collect the information in this form like name, last name, more information. And when you click on the button submit, the purpose for submit is collect all the information that we have in our form, like first name, last name, maybe Z number, maybe address, telephone number, something like that. Submit, send all the information that we are collecting to our application. So our application is going to receive all the data that we wrote in the text areas, in the radio check, something like that, and then we're going to work that in our server. Okay, this is just to give you an idea. This is what we're going to see in ISN 4243. Just in this class, I want to tell you what is happening, right, with the submit button. We have select, and in the select list, we have option as well to select. When you select an element of the list, you can add many options, right, in the list. So basically, this is that. And okay, this is the how to create an input text box. So first things, you need to add the component for the text area, right, for the text. So as you see, we're gonna specify that this is an input. We're gonna provide that this is the type for this input is gonna be a text, could be a text area as well, but in this case we're gonna use only text. And here we're gonna specify that we are using, the ID. Remember in our first video, we need to specify an ID to identify this element, because remember, we're gonna enter data here in the box first name, right? You're gonna type your name here, and at some point in your program you have to get the data that you are typing here in this box. And how you're gonna get this data? You're gonna get this data because you specify an ID. So all the text here in this program are gonna have an ID in order to help us to identify this element in your web page. So later you can use, for example, a method get element by ID. So you're gonna get the data that you are typing here to your program. Similar like the scanner that we collect the data, correct? Now we're gonna collect the data in the form, right? So instead of the scanner, we're gonna use a form to collect the data, right? Okay, and the value in this case is the value that appeared here at the beginning. Okay, there is another properties that we can use, that is placeholder instead of value. The problem of value is that this is the value that is going to appear here. So if the user doesn't type the first name and last name, you're going to get as first name, enter your name, last name, enter your last name. So if the user didn't clear this text, you're going to get enter your first name, because the value that you are putting at the beginning in this text input text component, it's enter your name. Instead of that, I guess it's in the next line, you can use placeholder and you can type enter your name, but it's gonna be like grayed out. So it means that enter your name is not the value, it's just like a hint, right? So we're gonna explain you that much better in the next slide. So but let's gonna start doing that using brackets, right? Okay, using bracket. Remember, file, new. Okay, then the first thing that I recommend you is, save the file, correct, and type, for example, form example.html, right? Save that as a web file. Just in case, type HTML, the extension, just to make sure, HTML. I'm gonna save that in documents, HTML for example. Okay, and then next things to do, a second, that I can move that, I'll be able to move. Okay, you see that? Set that, double check that you are setting that as an HTML. Okay, now remember the tag HTML, remember the other tag head, red. Inside the head, for example, we have title, correct, and form example, the title for our web page. Then what is next? Remember the body. Inside the body, now we're gonna have a form. A form, not a form, sorry. Form. Okay, here we go. Okay, now all the elements that we're going to include here is going to be inside our form. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you some special elements. So let's gonna see the presentation. Okay, here I type only first name, right? So like a regular text, right? Instead of that, I'm gonna add another component, label. Okay, and we're gonna write here, for example, first name, first name. Okay, this is gonna be like a label when we're gonna type first name. And now we need to add, you know, the box here, correct, to allow the user to enter her name, right? So it's gonna be an input. Previous, correct. So you have to add input, then type, and then here is gonna be a text. Okay, input type text. Okay, and it's gonna add an ID. As I told you, we need to identify our HTML components, right? So let's gonna call that txt name. Okay, and then what else? We're gonna use, for example, we have the type that is gonna be a text. We have the ID. If you type value, okay, you can set enter your name. Okay, and let's gonna close the input, save. Now remember that live preview. What happened here? You have form example, first name, and you can type your name here, right? Okay, but as you see, this is data, right? So by default we are displaying that data, but this is because we specify that on the value. Instead of value, you can type place. Let me see, let me delete everything to use the autocomplete. Type placeholder, enter your name, right? Enter your name. Okay, save. Now what happened? You see that enter your name is grayed out, and what happened when you click there? You can enter your name there. See? Enter your name is not a value. This is like a hint, right? So I recommend, so it's a good idea to use placeholder instead of value, because the value you're gonna assign by default, you know, a first name, correct? The data that appear at the beginning when you have value. Okay, this is data, a value that by default you are assigning to this text, input text. Okay, So instead of that, much better, placeholder. Okay, but here we want to display first name, the box here. So what can we do? If use, for example, here VR, right? Save. See? Okay. Now if you want to display another label, last name, right? Correct. Then VR to show the input text in the next line, right? This is VR, correct? Input type text, sorry, text. It's gonna assign an ID as well. Equal txt last name, correct? Placeholder, enter last name, correct? See that? What happened here? So you type the label, break line, then here, what happened? We need another break line, right? See? Last name, we have to show last name in the next line, right? So break line. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now what happened is we wanna, you know, add a buttons here to do some action, right? When you click buttons, usually you get some action, right? So something is gonna happen, right? So we're gonna create a buttons here. So it's gonna use another VR. Sorry, I didn't close the input. Okay. Now, how can we add a button? Okay, it's really easy. Use the input as well. Input type button. Okay, and now you can use value is equal, for example, send data, for example, and close that. See that? The button. So you can type your name, last name, and then click send data, but nothing happened because I type send data. Let me type do something. Now it's gonna work, right? It's gonna do something, right? Okay, do something. Nothing happened because we didn't code that, right? It's just the value that is going to appear here, right? Okay, so we can add more components. For example, what happens if I don't know, you want to add, for example, a calendar. It's gonna add here input type it should be for calendar date. Okay, now what you see, this is the reason why I told you date and times, right? Because we're going to use the date in application. Okay, yeah, that's it. So you can create a label as well here, right? Label and set, for example, my calendar. Save. What happened? first name, last name, my calendar. Oh, that happened when you click here. The calendar appear there. So see that? So when you select that, you got the date in this format. Okay, now you have an idea why I teach you date and time much better, right? Because at some point when you click do something, you're gonna receive the name, last name, and the date in this format. So you can create an object, you know, using the local date, everything that we learned, and then, you know, do whatever you want. Okay, so as you see, also we can add more components. So let me add another component. What else? Let me add what else? Select list. Okay, so you can type select, correct, and then auction. Okay, and inside the auction you can type, for example, colors, orange. You know that I like to do copy and paste, right? Okay, so let's see. What happened here with my code? Auction, let that type that auction. Let's gonna type, for example, red. Let's gonna add another auction to the list. Blue, for example. Okay, so the select is the list, and all these auctions are gonna be in your list. So when you're gonna create a list with those auctions, so that what's gonna happen is like this. See that? Also, right? So this is basically how to create a form, right? Okay, so okay, let's gonna continue doing another exercise. So let's gonna stop this video here. So try to repeat that. We didn't add logic to the button now, just create some elements. Okay, so next video we're going to start doing more things. Okay, thank you.